Hello. Today I went to, actually not just today, yesterday as well, I went to a few secondhand shops, as in, charity shops, which I haven't really done um, for a while now, other than kind of one or two here or there, but not really concertedly. But I looked at about 5 or 6 yesterday, found nothing, and then I looked at one today, and I did find something. The shop did have a lot of stock, a lot of CDs. Obviously people have been bringing them in, but it's really hard to look through them because the way they set them up on this kind of tall shelf, and they're kind of stacked in front of each other, so it's kind of like three deep. But if you can't really move them around, like I'm probably not describing that as well as I could, but it's hard to see everything that they have. But one thing that did, well, actually two things, but I'll show this first. One thing that caught my eye, something that I own already and owned numerous times since it was released back in 1997. Foo Fighters Color in the Shape. Now, why did I buy this if I already own them? Well, the answer is because the copy that I have, this one, you can probably see there from the side part, has no back artwork, inlay, whatever you want to call it. But this is the full artwork booklet and inlay art. Well, I don't know what the technical term is for that, but with the track listing on the back. And so I now have 1, 2, 3, for some reason, don't know why there's 3 or how that happened, but there's 3 copies of Color in the Shape. 2 of the booklet and 1 of the back inlay. So now I have the full, whatever you want to call it, the full thing. Now let's see if I can see if there's a difference between any of these. They're all the original, sorry, that's not showing it. They're all the original releases, as in they're not reissues or special editions. I don't know if there has been a reissue. Maybe there's a 20th anniversary back in 2017. Or maybe there's going to be a 30th anniversary next year. I doubt it. Oh, actually, no, I don't know. Color in the Shape, I think, was their highest selling album. But anyway, if we look at the disc, produced by Gil Norton, 1997 Roswell music, and I'm saying that because okay, printed in Australia, so I would say this is the Australasian version, seeing as I'm in Australasia. This one, which I got today, is exactly the same, I believe. 7, yeah, so I'm just saying that the number, that code is exactly the same, yes. 1997 Roswell. And this last one, just glancing, it looked a little bit different. That one, see, it doesn't say, it says 1997 down the bottom, and it doesn't say where it's printed. Yeah, I see hang on, let's have a look. And also, look at that, it's got a thicker reflective silver band around the outside of the disc, whereas this one is thinner, if you can see, or actually non-existent. And also, anything else different? But I'm trying to see here. Okay, this one was put out on RCA and BMG, whereas these two were on Roswell and Capitol. Okay, so obviously that's got to do with the different territories. They're kind of signed to different record labels in different places, I would imagine. But it says 1997. I'm just seeing if it says the country anywhere. Registered Marcus. Registered trademark. No, I'm not seeing a country there. How about around the outside? Manufactured and distributed by BMG. Australia. Well, that's weird, isn't it? They're all Australian, but what does this say down here? This says about markers, registrada. Don't know what that's all about. That's I really understand what that is, why that would be. Um, maybe this, or maybe this has got something else on it. Maybe this has got like extra bonus tracks or something. I don't know. It's not really that important, but it's just I don't know. Try to find something if there's any differences. So yes, now I have the full. I don't know what you're gonna call it. The full thing. Oh god damn it. Oh. And I've done that. I've shown that before. I've shown that. I think I've done 2 or 3 times now where I had bought a CD and then I got it home and it was just the jewel case and there was no disc inside, so I kept it and then I found the disc and put them together, and then vice versa. Once I bought, it was Wish You Were Here and it was just the back inlay and the disc but no cover art, and then I found, I think it was literally the cover art in an empty jewel case. And so I bought that and put it together like a 2 years later or something crazy like that. But it's you can also see that this one is more faded, and I don't know if that's like again like a different edition, or if this one has just been not in the sun so much. This is much more of a I don't know what you call that kind of blue. This is kind of like a duller blue, where this has got a bit more of a pop to it, to the tone. I think there's any clues in here. No, so this is just as I remember it. Now my brother, my little brother, he had this back when it was released in the late 90s, 97. And he was a big Foo Fighters fan, as was I. And he came with me and my friends to, I think it was his first concert, to the Foo Fighters at the Town Hall in Auckland in 1998, very early, about February 98. It was for the Colour and Shape tour. He would have been about 14 and I was about 17. Not about, I was 17 because it was the last year of high school, I remember. Great concert, really great show. It opened up when the, I think it was a curtain or something, and then they raised the curtain. I don't think they walked on stage and we saw them. I'm pretty sure there was some sort of kind of, anyway, when it first, the very beginning, Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins were both playing drums. There was 2 drum kits next to each other, and they were both playing drums at the same time, which is kind of like, I don't know, when you think about it now, it kind of seems weird, but it's, they did that for some reason, like they were playing in unison at the same time, so that was like the intro of the show, 2 guys drumming next to each other, and I was like, at the time, that kind of like, it felt like it made sense, like, oh yeah, Dave was the drummer in Nirvana and he's trying to show that he's still a drummer. I don't know what I was thinking, what I thought exactly, but I remember, yeah. But now thinking about it 30 years later, it kind of seems kind of strange, like, strange way to open a show. Not utterly bizarre or anything, but yeah. My 2 favorite Foo Fighters albums are the self-titled debut, which is probably my number 1, and Colour and the Shape, number 2. Those 2, for me, stand far, far above the rest of their catalogue. I like bits and pieces. I think There's Nothing Left to Lose has got some good songs, but it's also got some weak songs. I know that's kind of considered to be like kind of like a classic by a lot of their fans. Then the stuff they did through the 2000s, I found very, one by one, and then on through those other ones, very patchy. And then they did Wasting Light, and I think that was a pretty great album. That kind of, it's not at the level of this, but it's getting there. It's got some great songs on it. Then again, they made some just forgettable stuff, like so that Sonic Highways album and Concrete and Gold in particular was just utterly forgettable, with like 1 or 2 great songs and then just so much filler. And then they did that one after Taylor died, But Here We Are. Is that what it is? I talked about this before in another Foo Fighters video, and I think that is probably the best thing they've done since, well, not probably, it is the best thing they've done since Wasting Light. Oh, I didn't mention that Medicine at Midnight album, which is just shit. But I've listened to that very little, but I was so put off by the first time listening that I didn't really give it much of a chance beyond that. And they're just geeing up now, getting ready to, I think, release their next album. Your Favorite Toy, Your New Favorite Toy, or something like that. Which, the stuff I've heard off it, it hasn't really impressed me that much, but I'm sure I'll listen to it when it comes out. But it's I kind of like I give the Foo Fighters a lot more. What's the word? Going by their past releases, I really shouldn't give I should have kind of given up on them, because so much of what they release is just. And I'm not saying it's bad music, although the Medicine at Midnight album was kind of bad, but it's just boring, a lot of it, and so samey, and just doesn't stand out at all, so much of it. But still, I kind of listen when they release a new album just to kind of see like what it is. It's not as pleasantly surprised like I was with the last album. Like that song, The Teacher, on that. That's a great song. That kind of, for me, that stands up there with some of their great songs from this album, like, Everlong, or Stacked Actors, or other songs that I consider to be great. My favorite songs off this: My Poor Brain, Wind Up. Everlong is just kind of like a perfect song in my opinion. It's one of those songs that is just so classic. And what I mean by classic, I mean is I could hear that a million times, and wouldn't say I wouldn't get sick of it, but there's something about it that I don't know how to really describe it. Eternal, or classic, or I say classical, really timeless, or it's just a perfect, beautiful song in my opinion. New Way Home, the last song, is a great song. Now, I was just reading, by chance actually, an article, because I think because they're getting ready to tour and release a new album, they're kind of doing some media, and Dave's been talking about stuff and whatever. I came across some article that was suggested to me today about the recording of this album. And I've read and heard so much about it. The story of William Goldsmith has been told and retold many times, but if you don't know, they recorded this album with their drummer William Goldsmith, and he had a difficult time of it. And after those first sessions were finished, unbeknownst to him at the time at least, Dave went back into the studio and completely re-recorded all the drums over the top of William Goldsmith's drums, because he just wasn't happy with the performances, I guess. And then William found out, kind of not super directly, like I think it was through Nate, because Nate had been friends with him in a band before in Sunny Day Real Estate. And I guess understandably, William didn't take that well and kind of quit the band. And that's kind of part of, I guess, the band kind of lore, or the kind of dramatic side of the band. And then Pat Smear left very early in the touring cycle for this. I remember watching it. It was the MTV Video Awards in 1997. I can't remember what month. It would have been mid to late 1997. And Foo Fighters played, before the show started, they played like a small 1 or 2 song set outside the show, kind of like as the people were coming into the auditorium, and they played like Monkey Wrench or something, and then Pat was playing with them, and then Pat said, "Oh, okay, that's my last song with the Foo Fighters. Now I'm leaving the Foo Fighters. Here's the new guitarist," and they introduced Franz Stahl, which is kind of bizarre. Very rarely do members of bands leave in that way. And I don't mean as in kind of on stage and bring the new member on, but I mean as in without any kind of acrimony between the members, and there's kind of like a smooth exit. Because obviously Dave wanted him to stay in, but he accepted that Pat just wasn't happy touring and being in a band like that, and so he was like, okay, well, got to do what you got to do, and then obviously Pat came back into the band eventually. Would have been about 15 years later, was it? I think it was around Wasting Light he came back, which would have been 2011, so like 13 years. Anyway, France Style joined, and when we saw them in concert in February 1998, France Style was playing guitar with them, and he was booted before they went into the studio for There Is Nothing Left to Lose. Yeah, I could probably say a lot more about this album because this album was kind of like a really big part of 1998 for me. That year, I listened to it a lot and it was on a lot. I went to the show, my friends listened to this. Like I said, my brother liked them, and I just kind of, yeah, I don't know. It has like a weird place in my personal history. So that's that, and that's kind of like a happy ending for getting the whole album. The other thing, which is not a music CD, so sorry if this is boring for you, but it's something that again is kind of part of my youth. I came across this, the CD-ROM of the game SimCity 2000, which if you were a youngish person in the 90s, you must have at least heard of this and possibly even played it. I've shown some of the other kind of CD-ROM games that I bought of the similar kind of vintage mid-90s Electronic Arts, LucasArts games. This is Maxis. And if you don't know, SimCity was like how would you describe it? Well, like it says, the ultimate city simulator. I don't think that's really an apt description. I'd say it's more of a planning kind of game where it gives you this like a field, not a field, like a big tract of barren land, and you're kind of looking down on it. There might be there we go, you can kind of see there, and you've got to kind of construct a city, a workable, viable city, and so you've got to kind of put in roads and sewage systems and water systems and power plants. And then you kind of put residential areas and commercial and industrial areas. And, you know, you kind of decide where to build it. Is it like around a kind of a lake or a harbor or a river? Or you don't want to have it too hilly or, you know. And it's kind of, at the time, was very different and very kind of, you know, original. And then also sometimes natural disasters would happen. And you kind of regulate the tax, like the tax percentages and kind of city ordinances and kind of things like that. And I played this a lot. I was never very good at it, and a lot of my cities just didn't seem to thrive at all. I never really seemed to figure out how to get things to really work well, but I still played it quite a lot. And seeing that cover really kind of was like a shock, not a shock, but kind of like I haven't seen or thought of this game for probably like about 30-ish years. There's the special edition, includes SimCity 2000, Urban Renewal Kit, and Disaster Scenario. So that's what happened. You get like tornadoes and floods and wildfires and things like that, and they would, you know, disrupt your city, and you had to rebuild, and yeah. Lots of fun from my youth. So yeah, those are the two things I bought today. $2 for the CD-ROM game and $1 for the Foo Fighters CD. $3 spent, and like I said, probably the first time I bought something at a charity shop for a good few months, because it's just I haven't been going to them, and the reason I haven't been going to them is because B, the things available now are just so much less quality available. It's not like sometimes it's a stock issue, like they just have very few CDs full stop, but more often it's not that. It's they've got a lot of CDs, but it's pure crap. And from what I can see on the CD trading groups online that I frequent, it seems a lot of people are kind of going to the shops like I do and did, and then just doing it for reselling. So people will kind of resell, or they'll put these posts up with like hundreds of CDs that they've got. And some of the prices are just ludicrous, like you're dreaming. But I'd say that's part of what is happening there. But anyway, we'll leave it there at 20 minutes. Thank you for watching.